We go now to Democratic Senator Chris Coons, who joins us from Wilmington, Delaware. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning, Margaret. Great to be on with you again.
Thank you. As you know, there are ongoing talks about changing not just border security funding, but also policy. And from what we are reporting, those two elements in particular, raising the credible fear standard on asylum and expanding detention and deportation efforts, some in the Democratic caucus are objecting. Are you okay with it?
Well, I need to know the final deals, but I am likely to support this. I have spoken with a number of the negotiators. They have been working hard this weekend. I am hopeful that we can reach a conclusion this coming week. Margaret, for us to fail to come together and support Ukraine in their ongoing fight for freedom against Russian aggression would be a huge gift to Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping and Hamas. There's a lot of other things in this funding package that I strongly support. Interdicting fentanyl at our border, strengthening border security, humanitarian relief, aid to our Indo-Pacific partners, support for Israel. So frankly, if we can come together on a border security deal that gets bipartisan support, I will support it.
But some of your fellow Democrats, like Bob Menendez, have said it's shameful and selling out migrants and asylum seekers. Why is he wrong?
I understand Senator Menendez's passion on the part of making sure that our immigration system is safe, legal, and humane. But as I've often said in talking about the campaign for 24, President Biden needs to be compared not to the almighty, not to a perfect alternative, but to the actual alternative. And you just played for Congressman Gonzalez the stunning, hateful, fascist rhetoric of former President Trump when he's talking about poisoning the blood of our nation. The former president would bring in place not these modest changes to asylum policy, but radical and dramatic changes to immigration policy. We need to take seriously that there is a border security crisis, and we need to take responsible steps that reflect our values.
And that requires more conversation to be had on the other side of this break, so please stay with us. We'll have more with Senator Coons. Welcome back to Face the Nation. Delaware Democratic Senator Chris Coons is back with us. Senator, I want to pick up where we left off. We're talking about some potentially tough votes that will have to be taken in the near term with the border, with Ukraine, with Israel and Taiwan, all of those bundled together. Was it a strategic mistake for the White House to suggest bundling all of those as the president did in that Oval Office address when he asked for this big national security supplemental?
No, Margaret, I think we're at a moment where all around the world, our partners and allies need to see that we are strong. President Biden's done a remarkable job of pulling together a global coalition of 50 countries who in combination have contributed more to Ukraine's defense than we have, and making sure that we're pushing back on China and their predatory actions in the Indo-Pacific is a key part of our national security. That there's also humanitarian relief in this package, critical to address the hunger that's been caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and to come to the aid of Israel, and to provide critically needed support for innocent Palestinians in Gaza. To put all of this into one package recognizes that it's urgent that we provide a signal to the world that we are still a reliable ally and partner.
Specific to Israel, there was a pretty strong signal sent last night by Prime Minister Netanyahu when he answered questions from reporters. And he said he's, quote, proud he prevented the establishment of a Palestinian state, and he took credit for putting the brakes on the peace process. He seemed to be referring to President Biden's vision for a revamped Palestinian Authority when he said, among friends, it's important not to foster illusions. That seems to be casting the president's vision as deluded. Is that acceptable from an ally who's asking for billions of dollars in aid?
Prime Minister Netanyahu has been an exceptionally difficult partner. And I think President Biden did the right thing right after the horrific attack by Hamas, to go to Israel, to stand strong with Israel, and frankly, to send a firm message to Iran to stay out of this conflict. He deployed 2 aircraft carrier battle groups to the region so that Israel could focus on its self-defense against Hamas and not face an open attack from Hezbollah on the north or Houthis on the south, or Iranian forces up on the Golan Heights. What has been a real challenge is the big gap between most of us in Congress and the president, who believe a two-state solution is the only way forward, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has done everything he can to undermine a positive vision for peace for Israel.
So you have leverage here, though, policy-wise. I mean, the president has been very vocal in defending the prime minister and his choices. But President Biden did say the bombing is indiscriminate. The U.S. provides billions of dollars, like $3 billion or more a year. We're looking at another 10. Can't you put in some kind of provision here to force adherence to international law or U.S. law, as Senator Van Hollen is proposing?
Margaret, there already are requirements in American law that when we send military assistance to another country, whether it's Ukraine or it's Israel, that they have to abide by international law. And President Biden and the senior members of his team who've gone to Israel repeatedly have had some success in pressing Prime Minister Netanyahu to change direction, most recently in reining in settler violence in the West Bank. Because of elements of Netanyahu's cabinet, folks like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, that's been difficult for Netanyahu to do, but we have imposed sanctions on those who are fomenting settler violence, and President Biden has successfully pressed to get more humanitarian aid into Gaza and a reduction in settler violence. This is a difficult, challenging moment. And I know you're going to move on to some positive news about our economy, about other things we're getting done in Washington. But I am so grateful that in this moment, a seasoned and capable leader like President Biden is the one at the helm in the midst of all these challenging crises in our world.